right, well, welcome everybody to the September AT Group Seminar. Today we're going to be talking about computers and different things that we can do to make them a little bit easier to use. This will be covering the things that you can apply to any computer. It doesn't have to be a Windows, doesn't have to be a Mac, Linux. It can be any computer because all computers these days basically have the same accessibility features and all of that. So you'll be able to, it'll be applicable to anything. But first, before we do this, since this is going out on YouTube, I have to let everybody know if you'd like to learn more about the Bluegrass Council of the Blind, of course, you can reach us through our website, www.bcbky.org. You can send us an email, info@bcbky.org, or you can give us a phone call, 859-259-1834. And we thank you guys for tuning in. We put out videos like this all the time. We have events inside the office as well as virtual every month. So reach out if you have any questions or you'd like to learn more, get connected with us. Couple of things about computers. As I said before, all modern day computers have fantastic accessibility already built in. You don't have to include, you don't have to add anything. It's already part of the computer, which is fantastic. This is also true for all modern day smartphones, which we are going to be talking about next month in next month's AT seminar. So stay tuned for that in October. But does not matter if you have a PC, it does not matter if you have a Mac, if you have a Chromebook, if you have a Linux, they're all going to have accessibility built in. And you're going to be successful with whatever you have. That's the first thing I tell people. A lot of people get hung up, well, should I get a Mac or should I get a Windows? Which is better for low vision? Which is better for blindness? It does not matter. Whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you can afford, whatever will play nice with your other devices, that's what you should be looking at. Don't worry about the accessibility because they all have accessibility. So with that being said, let's talk about the hardware first. So computers, they come in either a desktop or a laptop. And we're going to count the all-in-one computers as part of being a desktop. But there's some benefits to both. You know, desktops, they can tend to be more powerful, that sort of thing. You tend to be able to plug more things into them, but they're big, they're bulky, they're not portable. Laptops are portable. They can often be more affordable as well. But for us with low vision, especially, you run into the situation where you have a tiny screen, and that is not always great for us. So the first thing I talk to people about is bigger is always going to be better for low vision. So look at possibly connecting your computer to a much larger screen. Here in the office, I have two 43-inch 4K monitors. These things are huge, they're big. I jokingly say that I feel like I'm working at NASA sitting behind these computer monitors. But they're fantastic because my computer, everything just automatically is bigger on a large monitor. I don't have to do anything. It's just automatically bigger. So this is a great thing you can do. A great little trick is just get a bigger monitor. And this is especially true for laptops. Now, you lose your portability if you're connected to a monitor, but if you have a laptop, you can just usually plug an HDMI cable from the laptop right into a larger monitor or a larger TV and use that as your monitor, your laptop monitor. And it works great. Also, your keyboard. I use a large print, high contrast keyboard. Try and show it to the camera here. Yeah. This is the brand that I really like. The brand that we use here is Logic, Logic keyboards, Logic keyboards. There's a brand that's called Logic Tech, but this brand is just Logic keyboards. They have a whole line of accessible keyboards, and they're fantastic. This particular one is a wired full-size keyboard, It is white letters on a black key, and the keys are on a silver surround or silver case, I guess you could say. So this provides a ton of contrast. The white letters on the black background, it's the inverted color scheme. That works really well for me. But these black keys on the silver background works really well. It makes those keys stand out. And so for like finding my arrow keys down in the bottom, um, my cord is not going to let me get it all the way over there. It is. It's easy to find my arrow keys because of that black against the silver. Gives great contrast. Um, there's also illuminated keyboards. So you can get large print illuminated, where the keys, the letters actually light up. And that is really good for a lot of people, especially in low light situations. If you're at home, you maybe don't have the best lighting. Having your keys, your letters glowing nice and bright is really, really good. So those are just some things to look at. Large print, high contrast keyboards come in a wide variety of color schemes. There's white on black like this. There's also black on white. There's yellow on black, black on yellow. Lots of options. So getting a nice large print keyboard is also super helpful. Here in the office and at home, actually, I also have my monitors on monitor arms. Here at the office, my monitor arm is connected to my desk, but at my house, my arm is connected to the wall. But this allows me to pull the monitor up nice and close. It gets the monitor off the desk, so it gives me room down on the desk. But being able to pull the monitor up close means I don't have to lean in to see the monitor, and it's saving my back. It also allows me to move that monitor around. You know, if I need to look down in the corner, I can move it over, and it just gives you a lot more flexibility with your monitor. So having a monitor arm is fantastic, and they're not expensive. You can get them for like $20 on Amazon. Okay, now jumping into software. There's a couple of things that we always do, and I am going to share my screen. Okay. So one thing that there's several things we can do to set this up for low vision. We're going to talk about low vision first, and then we'll talk about no vision. We'll kind of work our way up. But for low vision, there's several things we can do to help improve the way we see the computer. Number one is our wallpaper. I always do a high contrast, simple wallpaper. And this is to add contrast to make it easier to see my icons. You know, I would love to have a picture of my wife and my kids and my dog and all that as my wallpaper, but that's way too busy, and it's going to make it difficult to see the shortcuts and the icons on my home screen because they're going to blend into all that busyness of the background wallpaper. So I always do a dark color personally, and high contrast, very, very simple background. But it doesn't have to be a solid color. You could go a solid color, like just solid black would be probably the best, but it doesn't have to be. Like here I have this kind of abstract, it's misty, it's got some smoky things down at the bottom, but it's simple and it's high contrast. That's what's most important. I have my icons over here to the left are nice and big. I have set those icons that big. Normally when you get your computer for the first time, your icons are tiny. They're tiny, like super, super small. But you can actually make them different sizes on your home screen. And once again, this is true for Windows and Mac. For Windows here, I just want to hold down the control button on the control key on my computer, and I use the wheel of the mouse to zoom in and make those larger. I can also right click and go to View and adjust the size of the icons that way. But now they're big, they're easier for me to recognize, works great. Now, I am running Windows 11 on my Windows PC. And so if possible, update to the latest version of your operating system because everything is just going to work better. Better accessibility, better performance, everything will work better. One thing I love to do though on mine is I invert my colors. once again, I see the inverted color scheme better. So I invert, I do the white letters on a dark background. And all of these computers have a wide variety of different color themes you can choose. They even have high contrast themes. I don't do a high contrast theme for me personally because I think it's too much. But a lot of people do love those high contrast themes. I just do one of the regular dark themes for myself. That works well for me. But one thing you'll also notice is that my Windows start menu here is nice and big. If I right click on the desktop here, this context menu is nice and big. These elements are much larger than they normally would be when the computer you first turn it on. And that's because I've gone into the display settings. And if I right click and I click on display, I've gone in here and I've set my resolution and my scaling, I've set them to a higher number. The resolution actually is set to the resolution of my monitor, which is 4K, but my scaling I have set to 300%, I believe is what I have. Yeah, 300%. Might even be 350. I don't know. But the scaling just indicates how large these items look on the screen. And so setting it a higher number makes things bigger. So you can play around with that, and you can do that on Mac as well. I've also set the text size a little bit larger, just to what's comfortable for me. That's done in the accessibility settings, both for iOS and, for Mac and Windows. So you can do all those types of things. You'll also notice, I'll show you if I can grab it here, my nice large clock. 117, nice big clock. I can read that from here. On Windows and Mac, you always have this tiny little clock down in the corner, or on Mac, it's up in the top, and it's super hard to see. So online, you can get free widgets to download, and this is just a free widget that I downloaded from the internet, and it gives me this giant clock, and I can put it wherever I want to. I like to have it in the upper right corner, and it's always there telling me the time whenever I need it. And they have different designs and things you can choose too. But probably the biggest thing that we use with our low vision is the Windows magnifier. On your Mac, it's going to be called Zoom magnifier. And I don't know if this is going to show up through the Zoom interface, but we'll try here. So I can use a keyboard command to zoom in, and this makes it really large. If you guys can't see that on Zoom, I apologize, but
We can.
Is it showing up, Avery?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, hopefully it does in the recording as well. But we zoom in, and the nice thing is that it follows my pointer around. So if I wanted to look at the items, the icons over on the left, I just pull my mouse pointer to the left. If I wanted to look down at my taskbar, at what apps I have running in my taskbar, I just drag my mouse pointer down, and here they are. And I can even zoom in really big if I want. I can make this really big. Depends on how much magnification I need. There's a couple different settings you can set to how the magnification follows your mouse pointer. And that's also true for Mac. So you can customize a little bit. There's also a couple different versions of the magnifier. So right now I have it set to full screen, which means it zooms in and the entire screen zooms in. But I could also set it to what's called a lens or a window, where there's just a little square magnifying window right above my pointer. I can also set it to dock, where just the top couple of inches of my screen is magnified. So you have some different options. I've just always used full screen. I think it works the best because you see the most at once. So that's just what I use. But that's Windows Magnifier. And it works great for reading all types of things and zooming in and seeing the detail in things. So let's go into our website here. And I just want to go to, let me pull up the new website. We'll go to our BCB website. There it is. Okay. And so I wanted to show you a couple things here. Number one is, I mentioned before that I don't like the bright white. The bright white is kind of overpowering for me. So this website, our website, is a little strong for me. Well, that's no problem because I can quickly invert the screen by doing a keyboard shortcut on my computer. And this quickly inverts all the colors. So now we've got that inverted style that I prefer. And so it's fantastic. You can set your computer to a dark theme if that's what you want, but some websites won't follow that, but you can very quickly invert the colors with a keyboard command, a keyboard shortcut if you need to. And once again, this is available on all the computers.
Sam, do you know the command on Mac?
I do. I don't. Not off the top of my head. I apologize. But if you look in the accessibility, it will be there. You could probably even just Google the command and find it pretty quickly.
And that's one of the questions I had because, and you may have just addressed it. It doesn't always hold from website to website, does it? Or when I get to and I had the same difficulty with the white, bright background, which
Yeah.
seemed to be all of my websites. If I just land on the website, then I do the command, invert it, and then it's available to me. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. Now, we can also talk about some browsers will have extensions that you can install. Like Chrome has a couple of extensions, free extensions, like add-ons or plugins that will force the website to invert to the color that you want. It'll basically force the website to use dark mode. Now, if you're on a Mac and you're maybe using Safari, I'm not sure if Safari has them, probably do. But yes, if all else fails, you can just quickly do the keyboard command to quickly invert that particular website you're on.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Now, like I said, I use magnification, and if I'm zoomed in like this and I want to read this little section of text, I could do that. It's very much like a typewriter, though. You kind of go da, 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 all the way to the end, and then when you get to the end, ding, you got to go back to the very beginning. And that works, but it might be tedious, especially if you have to read a long article or something. So I much prefer having that information read out loud to me. So what I'm going to do with Windows Magnifier, we have something called the Magnifier Reader. And once again, Mac has this as well. Mac has a couple of different reading options. But just to demonstrate how it works, I want to start from this first word. So I'm just going to click on that first word. I'm going to hold down 2 keys on my keyboard, and I'm going to left mouse click on that first word.
The Bluegrass Council of the Blind, the only nonprofit adults who are blind or visually impaired in central Kentucky.
And then it's just going to read that out to me until I click a button, click a keyboard button, click a mouse button, something like that. So that is super great, super helpful. For those of us that are not full-time screen reader users, we still might want something read out loud. We want a sometimes screen reader. And so that's why they created this on Windows. That's why they have it as well as on Mac, is for us that maybe just needs things read out loud to us every now and then. So that is the Windows Magnifier Reader. Let's get out of here. And now you see my desktop here is inverted because we inverted. So I need to go back to regular. So it's not too bad for me. And we're good to go. Now, all of these computers also have full-time screen readers available. Windows has a couple of options. On Mac, it's called VoiceOver. On Windows, it's called TalkBack, or excuse me, that's wrong. It's Android. On Windows, it's called Narrator. But Windows has a couple of other third-party options that can be installed. Some are free, some are very expensive. But if you need a full-time screen reader, you can have that. And just to demonstrate here.
Screen sharing meeting controls.
Oh, wait, it's not going to work because I'm on Zoom. They work great. They are full-time screen readers. So everything is controlled through the keyboard. You don't use a mouse. You can use a mouse, but you're not really supposed to. That's not what it's designed for. It's designed to be used strictly with the keyboard, using your arrow keys, using your tab, using your F keys. But it allows someone who can't see the screen at all to be able to use the computer pretty much fully. It does take a lot of training, a lot of practice, learning how to use these screen readers, especially if you want to be able to use them fluently. But you can definitely do that. We can definitely help here at Bluegrass Council of the Blind if that's one of your goals. So now I want to quickly touch on, I'm going to zoom in and let's go to, let's bring up this application here. So this is the Be My Eyes app that is available on Windows currently. I don't know if this is available on Mac. I believe it is, but I'm not sure. But Be My Eyes is a very popular smartphone app. It's been around for about a decade now, and it's extremely helpful. But recently they launched a computer desktop version that provides a couple of different options. The Be My Eyes app uses AI, and it can identify things on your screen. You can take a photo and it can identify what's in the photo. It can read out text documents to you. It can do a lot of functionality on your computer here. Once again, all of these are available through the app as well. But let's take a look at this first one. I wish they would write these bigger, that's for sure. But this is describe your screen, and it also has the keyboard controls there right underneath it. Then you have take a photo, take a picture. You have described file, so you can load in a document and it will describe that for you, or describe what's in your clipboard. So I'm going to demonstrate it here. We're going to set this guy aside, and I've got a photo here that I want to have it describe for me. So I'm going to make this photo full screen, and then let's bring up our thing again. Okay. And I'm going to click describe screen. And it just took a photo of the screen or screenshot of my desktop. And down below here, it has written out its response. So I'm going to use my reader to read this out loud to us.
Cat standing on its hind legs wearing a digitally added Batman mask. The cat is light orange with white fur on its chest, and it's standing next to a piece of furniture on a light-colored carpet. The mask gives the cat a hero appearance. There are no visible error messages or alerts on the screen.
Yeah, so it's a photo of a cat wearing a Batman mask. So go back here. So this is a very helpful tool. And that's the other thing I wanted to kind of talk about next is AI and using AI to help us with different tasks. But this is a free app, the Be My Eyes app for Windows, possibly for Mac. But this gives you a lot of AI functionality for free. I'm going to jump into my desktop here, and I'm going to bring open another AI tool that I use quite often is Copilot. That is a Microsoft AI tool. I just usually go to the website here, but there's other ways you can get it on your computer. If you have Microsoft 365, you have access to Copilot, things like that. But in the middle, there's a text prompt here, so I can ask it questions. I can drop an email in there and say, hey, I'm terrible at writing emails. Can you clean this up for me? And it will do that. And then I can copy and paste that into my email. There's a little plus button here, so I can add a file into this. I could throw in our cat photo and ask it to describe this photo for me. And it works really, really well. Another one that I use quite often is ChatGPT. This is probably my favorite. I use this all the time on my computer. I use it on my smartphone, which we'll talk about next month. But it does basically the same thing. I can give it a text prompt, so ask it a question or tell it to do something, or I can load in a file, a photo or a document, and it will help me with that. Just to prove how much I use this, I actually have it set to a mouse button on my mouse to bring up a chat GPT interface here. And I've got a bunch of preset prompts over here. I can summarize text. I can rephrase text. I use this to do my tracking whenever I meet with clients, compose an email, lots of different things that I can do with this. So AI is fantastic and extremely helpful, especially with identifying those photos and things like that. So that is just a real quick overview of some of the things that you can do to help with navigating a computer. These are things that we can definitely help with here at VCB. If anybody has any questions, they're more than welcome to reach out to us and we can help work through it.